Alright, so for this video I'm going to walk you through all the procedures necessary to create your Shopbot file, which is the code that's necessary for the machine to cut this part. So, you should be all complete. Your part should be 0.5 inches thick, no greater than that. So when you look at it from the edge, nothing should be thicker than 0.5. My part for this demonstration actually is 0.75 because I created this with a different thickness for a different project, but that's okay. All of our procedures will be generally the same, except my overall thickness is going to be a little bit thicker than yours, but that's okay. So here's what we're going to do. The first step is you're going to flip up here in the top left from design, because right now you're in the design mode. You're going to flip to manufacture mode. Once you're in that, then you're going to go right away up to this little folder under setup and you're going to click it. As soon as you do that, you're going to get another folder that says setup. So over here, this little dialog box, there's 3 tabs. You're going to be concerned with the first 2 tabs. I like to start with the middle one, this little orange or yellow isometric box here, and we're going to change the mode first to fixed box size, just like that. And when you do that, oh, you know what, I lied. Actually, this is 0.5 thick. Cool, I didn't realize that. Anyway, when you do change it to fixed box size, what it's going to do is Fusion is going to look for the overall width, depth, and the height of your part. And this is a good way to check to see and make sure that your size is correct. And if it isn't, you're going to want to flip back to the design mode and you're going to want to make any changes necessary to meet the constraints of the project. All right. If your Z is in the wrong direction, in other words, if your 0.5 is in the Y or the X, then you're going to want to go over to this first tab and you're going to want to change the orientation by selecting a Z or an X axis direction. But if it's okay, then you're going to leave it alone. If it's not okay, then pick your Z axis by selecting a edge. So for instance, my Z axis, if I wanted it to go in this direction, like along this direction, I would pick this edge. But ultimately, everybody wants their Z to point up. So when I say up, it's just like you see in mine. So all of your features, whatever your graphics are, whatever your design is, should be pointing Z positive up, just like you see mine. So what you want to do is you want to select the Z axis, and you want to find an edge, which could be like that edge right there, that's pointing up, and you want to highlight it, and you want to click it while this is active, all right? And if it's not pointing positive up, you can always flip the axis by clicking that. All right, then your last step in this box is to select box point where it says stock point and pick the top corner right there, just like that. So this is going to be the 0. Make sure it's at the top corner, just like that. And that's going to be the 0 where we zero the machine, and that's going to be like the starting point where it begins the cut. All right, so we're going to hit OK. So now we've defined the 0 of the coordinate system and where all of the cutting is going to start and continue forward moving. All right, now we're going to create our tool paths. There's 2 types of tool paths we're going to make. The first type is going to be under the 3D menu. So make sure, don't just click, look at what you're clicking on. Make sure it's the 3D drop down, and you're going to pick pocket clearing. So I'm going to do that again just to make sure you did it correctly. 3D, it's the second option, not adaptive clearing, but pocket clearing. All right. There's 5 tabs. We're going to go through each one of these, and you're going to have to make sure that everything is typed in correctly. So the first tab, you're going to go to the tool, and you're going to click select. So you don't have all of my tool libraries that you see on my left under local. So you're going to have to download and install the Shopbot tool library that you see here. So you're going to right click and you're going to import a library. So when you do that, you're not going to see it because you have to download it. So go ahead, open up Schoology, go to Unit 4, Manufacturing Processes, and download this shopbot-tools.tools. So if I click on it, it's going to take me to this. If I click on it again, it's going to download it to my computer. And if I click on this little arrow, I can show it in the folder. And if I show it in the folder, you can see that I downloaded this to my downloads folder. So it's in my computer in my downloads folder. So depending on the device that you're working on, that might be a little different for each of you. So I'm going to go to my downloads folder, which is right here, and sure enough, there it is. So I would click on that. I don't have to do that because I already have it. It's right here, but you guys, once you click on it, it'll load under your local, and then when you pick it, you should see this tool, and you're going to select it, and then hit select. All right, so now you'll see the 1/4 inch flat tool, and all of the feeds and speeds that you see on my screen should come in with it. So you don't need to do anything else on this first tab. The second tab, very simple. This is the geometry that you would like to cut. In this case, it's going to be everything on the inside. So you don't have to pick all this stuff. Luckily, under where it says machining boundary, all you have to do is change it to selection, and then hover the bottom perimeter like you see me doing when it turns blue, and click it. It turned green. That's like a fence that you've just picked, and you're saying to Fusion that you would like everything inside this fence to be selected and cut. So that's it for here. The third window are the heights for the tool to sense when it's picking all the stuff it should be cutting. Leave all this alone, because if you look, it's going to sense the top of the stock, and it's going to cut down to the bottom of the model. So since you've modeled all this stuff, it's going to sense the height of all of the geometry, and it's going to try to cut it out as best it can. So now we're on the third tab. We're going to go to the fourth. Very important that you do a couple things here. First, where it says maximum roughing step down, change this to 0.5, which is going to tell the tool that it's allowed to go down the full depth of the material. Because it's wood, it's allowed to do that. And then uncheck stock to leave, so that it doesn't leave any extra material. It's allowed to go all the way up to the finished surfaces. The final thing you're going to do under linking, which is the last tab, is you're going to go to where it says ramp. It's the third little drop down. And you're going to change the helical entry to a plunge. And that defines how the tool enters into the material. Alright, now if I just kind of close these, you'll see there's an OK at the bottom, and I'm going to press OK and give it just a moment. And it calculates, and it goes in and it cuts. You'll see with the blue lines the tool paths where it's cutting through all of the different geometry. Now this is the point where you can look and see if it missed anything. Like for instance, my WHS, it was not able to get into the top area of my S. If you want to, at this point, you could flip back to the design, and you know, if I wanted to make a sketch on the top of this S, and you know, make maybe a little bit more room, I'll show you how I can do that. I could make a sketch on the top of the S. I could you know, use my spline tool, and I could maybe try to cut out a little bit of the S. And I'm doing this quickly just for the demonstration, but if I wanted to, you know, try to take some of that material out to allow that tool to fit, I could try to do that. I'm going to see if that allows me to extrude. It does not, and that's because, go back into that sketch, it's not closed. So I'm going to try to just close that, and then I'm going to extrude it just like that. And now I'm going to cut it down, the distance will be to this surface. Alright, so I just cut a little bit more of an opening. Doesn't look very good because I didn't take my time, but again, for the demonstration, I'm just showing you what I can do if I realize that my tool doesn't fit. I'm going to go back to manufacture. What you're going to notice is that there's a little red warning saying that the toolpath is out of date. I can right click and I can generate it again, and it will recalculate with the new geometry. And you'll notice that the toolpath was now able to at least get into here, but it still was not able, if you can see from the video, it still wasn't able to get into here. So I guess I would have to go back and maybe even take a little bit more out of like this. But I'm not going to do that for this demonstration. You can see, I guess, what I'm trying to accomplish by going back and forth between design and manufacture to try to make this manufacturable. So that's the pocket on the inside, but I still haven't cut it out. I still haven't, think of a cookie sheet, making cookies and cutting them out so that you can turn them into circular shapes. I haven't cut it out. So that's the final operation, which is called a 2D contour. So for that, you're going to go up to 2-dimensional, which is right here. Under 2D contour, pick it. Your tool is still the same, so you don't have to change anything in this menu. Leave it alone. You're going to go to your second menu where it says contour selection. You're going to very carefully pick the outer perimeter, just like that. The third menu where it says heights, for this one, you're only going to change where it says bottom height. Instead of where it says selected contour, you're going to make sure it says model bottom. And then you want that tool to not only go all the way to the bottom of the model, but you want it to go an extra -0.05 to make sure that it cuts all the way through. We're going to go an additional 50 thousandths deeper. So -0.05. The fourth tab, we don't want that tool to go all the way 0.5 when it's cutting it out. With the picture you see above that I have highlighted, with multiple depths, it's going to go down a little bit each time as it kind of spirals around. So I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to change my max roughing steps to 0.2. So type in 0.2 for maximum roughing steps. My last tab, which is linking, I'm just going to check and turn on ramp, just like that. Okay? That's all. You're going to go ahead and you're going to just minimize these if you can't see the OK button, and then click OK, and then you'll see that toolpath generate around the outside, just like this. All right? So that is it. At this point, save it. You can post your code, but I need to check it first to make sure that everything is okay to run. Posting your code is just as easy as highlighting with holding the shift key, the two of these operations, asking me to come and check your code, making sure it's correct, and then you would right click on the highlighted operations, click post. From this little drop down, you would select the machine that's called ShopBot Open SBP, and then you would give your program a name, usually your name or your last name. I'll put Geist, and then you click the word post. Save it to a flash drive or a USB drive, and then once you do that, give it a second, it'll open up this little program here, and this is all of your G&M code that you would bring over to the machine and run your part with. And then that is it. Pretty simple. Thank you so much for watching.